Welcome to Girls, Gays, and Animes, where it is safe to love what you love and love who you love. I am your host, Valsaraptor, and I love pretending like money isn't real when I go to conventions and coming home in severe credit card debt. I am here with my co-host today. It's not T, it is Ichigo Yandere. Welcome to the podcast, Ichigo.
Thank you. I'm Ichigo Yandere, and I love when everyone's favorite character dies in an anime.
That's facts. She does. And it's an excellent lead in actually to our topic today, which is we
Cutie creepy?
it's cutie creepy, but it ties into you liking people's character dying in the way that like you love the characters you love, but you if other people like a specific character or if like the character's like too sweet, you're like, right?
True, I do typically like everyone's least favorite character in a show. Not always, though. Sometimes I like the nice people, the sweet people.
That's I so we're like we're those friends, right? Where I
Mm,
like the sweet, clueless, maybe slightly autistic character, and
mhm.
you like the high energy, could be considered a bully, um,
Probably a bully.
probably
Typically, whoever's loudest.
loud. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say, ignorant to their own feelings. Um, but yeah, loud.
I
We'll go
feel
with loud.
I feel attacked.
Welcome to the podcast.
So happy to be here.
Yay! Well, whether or not you're actually happy to be here, I'm happy you're here. I'm very excited about this topic because I feel like it's more unique than just going through and like talking about like T and I did recently, where we talked about very popular animes. We talked about the Crunchyroll Awards. This is a discussion more so about animes that are, I don't want to say, I mean, they're kind of obscure. And then honestly, they're not that obscure. They're just not super mainstream. That's not to say that they're
Yeah.
not popular or don't have like a cult following in some cases. So I guess why don't you kick us off? Why don't you go ahead and tell us the names of the animes that we're going to be talking about today, and then maybe go through a quick description of like an overview of what the anime is like.
Perfect. I think niche and cult following are great ways to describe all of these shows. They definitely are popular in their own right, but the people who love them are really into them, and then some people have just never heard of them. So the ones I'm going to be talking about today, we've got Puella Magi Madoka Magica, Made in the Abyss, Shadow's House, Future Diary, and Death Parade. And all of these are favorites of mine. Most of them, like we said, give that like cute, creepy vibe. Some of them more creepy than cute, some of them more cute than creepy. But they all have that like touch of beautiful and yet disturbing.
Hmm. And I'll say two of these on the list I watched because you recommended them to me. One of them I think I maybe found on my own and mentioned it to you, and you were like, "Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites. Love it." 10 out of 10. And I was like, sick. And I also really liked it. So I'm excited to hear about the other ones that I haven't yet heard about from you.
To tell you about them. So we'll start with Madoka Magica. I know that's one that I very aggressively asked you to watch. It's my favorite anime of all time. It's stereotypical magical girl, but they've taken it and really distorted it. It's so cute and like retro, wholesome, adorable, but incredibly disturbing. You have a bunch of middle school girls who, sign contracts with a supernatural cat thing, and be careful what you wish for, because you'll get it and maybe regret it. They get all these wishes, or they get all their wishes come true, and they're given powers to fight witches, and it's a weird rabbit hole from there.
Right, like it's almost like typical magical girl fashion in the way that like you get these powers because you're fighting something. But then it's almost um like you're making a deal with the devil, or like a genie situation where it's like you wish for something, however you lose something valuable, or you're not fully aware of the implications of what you're wishing for, and there,
Yeah.
maybe it backfires on you. And so that's kind of maybe where the creepy piece comes into it.
Very much. There's, I think, a lot of, like you said, be careful of what you wish for because is it really what you wished for? And did you think through the implications of what your wish really means? Which middle school girls obviously never do.
No.
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 Next one, Made in the Abyss. Phenomenal. This one I would argue is probably the most obscure out of all of these. Um, but it's very campy in the beginning. I'll do my best not to spoil any of these. I'm notorious for spoiling anime, but I'm gonna do really well with this. So it starts out you have two brand new friends. They go on a quest that no one expects them to come back from. They're like, okay, bye forever. Have a great time. Riko's out there just trying to find her mom, and Reg, he just wants to know who he is, or what he is. And they're traveling into this deep, dark abyss. Classic, very cute. The abyss consists of like all these layers that you have to like free climb and traverse through, and like all these talented adults who train forever haven't come back, and the kids are like, "Oh, we've got this. This will be great. We've had some training. This is gonna be so fine." Um, and there's like all these physical effects of traveling in the depths. There's, like sickness. There's this crazy, beautiful landscape. There's monsters, creatures. It's such a good, like, typical adventure story that um, just goes from 0 to 100 very quick.
But I'm thinking of the characters, like as you talk through them, like they're cute characters, but then so the creepy element, I assume, is where they're exploring and what they encounter while they're exploring.
Yeah, the creepiness of this story definitely comes in through like a horrifically beautiful landscape. It's a great example of in a story where something is so beautiful and yet so poisonous and deadly to you,
Hmm.
as well as monsters that are totally different depending on where you are in the abyss, and range from cute but could kill you to looks like could kill you, will destroy your very existence. And the show, much like Madoka Magica, like I said, goes from 0 to 100. So, it's very cute for a while, and then all of a sudden it is a very different show, and you are caught very off guard by it, which is great.
So, not to jump ahead or anything, but I did, like I said, I started watching Shadow's House because of your recommendation. I am still at the cute part, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. And so I feel like I'm waiting for the ball to drop or the other shoe to drop or whatever the phrase. Like I'm waiting. I'm sitting there. I'm like, it's still too cute. Like it's kind of weird, but it's still too cute. What's gonna happen? But I think there's 2 seasons to that one. So I guess another point to make is Madoka Magica's 1 season.
So Madoka Magica is a little spicy. It's 1 season, 1 movie, and
Mm-hmm.
then there is a spin-off. Made in the Abyss is, I want to say 4 seasons, but feel free to correct me in the comments, because I'm probably definitely wrong about that. It's several seasons long though. Shadow's House is right now only 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow's House, though, is a little different from the rest on this list because it is very cutie and creepy, but more of a wholesome creepy. The kind of creepy I would show, my child.
Okay.
Not necessarily as like horrifically disturbing, more of a slight unsettling. I
Okay.
describe this one a lot as like murder mystery dinner theater vibes.
Okay.
Are almost
I like that. I'm watching it and I'm expecting like um the one with the kids where they're like
Promised Neverland.
yeah, I'm sitting there and I'm like, it's gonna be like Promise Neverland. Something's gonna happen. They're gonna like,
Maybe, maybe not.
So okay, that was your lead in. So why don't you tell us more about the premise of Shadow's House?
Creepy dollhouse. That's the premise. So essentially for that one, you have shadows that are waited on by their living dolls, which are humanoids who act as the face of their shadow, because the way that the shadows are drawn, you can't see their expressions. It truly is just like your shadow against the wall. Kate's doll, Amiliko, is this like she's so precious. She is a ray of she is everything good and pure and wholesome in the whole world. Whereas Kate is like this, she's great too, but she's so grumpy and sassy. And they become best friends, obviously, just like us. Precious ray of sunshine and grumpy potato.
Guess
And
which is which? I don't know.
who could it be? But it's classic, like the mansion seems to have more secrets than there are answers. Girls are running out of time. And they have to like solve all of these mysteries with, friends they make along the way and try to figure out the secret of the soot that makes up the shadows and kind of the world around them and what are the living dolls, how are they made? And things like that. And I would argue isn't necessarily like you can guess a lot of stuff that's coming. Um, but the way that all of it is done, it's also always so exciting to like unravel the next new clue and like try to piece together the mystery as you're going through.
Yeah, every question you just asked right now, I still have. So, and I'm on episode like 9, I think.
Oh, so then
Well,
you've seen some of the creepier moments.
yes, I have
Yeah.
seen. Okay, so I've seen some of them. Then I still, like you said, I just still have a lot of questions for me to be so into a season. And that's why I said I was very afraid because I'm like, I feel like I'm getting close to like discovering something unsettling.
In your defense, I feel like part of that's because I recommended it. So,
Yes.
our viewers may not have that experience going in because their cutie creepy friend wasn't like, "Hey, I know I just made you watch something deeply unsettling, but can you watch this other cutie creepy thing? It's totally fine, I promise."
Totally fine. 100p.
Very fine. Um Leading off of that, since Shadow's House focuses more on the cutie side than the creepy side, I'm balancing it with Future Diary, which I would argue has very little cutie in it and mostly creepy and unsettling. It is a deadly battle royale type situation. And it has a phenomenal yandere. Truly gives me a run for my money. What I don't want to say aspires to be. She is terrifying. It's phenomenal. Um, because I know this isn't one you've seen. I've talked to you about
Right.
it before, but I know you haven't seen it. So
Mm-hmm.
to give you background on it, basically there are 12 people in the battle royale, and they're given these special cell phones, which are their powers are like kind of determined based on how they lived their life. I won't spoil how, um, but the way they live their life determines what power they get through their cell phone. But the cell phones are critical. Basically, they push these willing or sometimes unwilling participants to take part in a battle royale. And the prize, very stereotypical for battle royale, is godhood itself. Which very common premise. We see it in games like Fatal 12. There's always something really high on the line when there's a battle royale. But for this one, protagonist, typical sad lonely boy, you would love him. He's very quiet, he's awkward. There's nothing special about this guy.
He sounds perfect.
He's just some boring dude.
He's just a
Um
guy. Hit him with your car.
he just goes through life observing it, taking some notes. He does nothing. Um
He
Typical
looks
boy
like he
meets
does
girl.
nothing. I'm
He
looking at
does
him. He
look
looks
like
like he does nothing.
he is quintessential sad wimpy boy. Why are you the protagonist of my show? But he is a great, like, forgetting the word, but the opposite of the boy meets girl situation, because the girl in this is batshit crazy. There's no good way to say it. She is nutso, but she'll protect you. So that's pretty cool because this guy can't do anything and she can do everything.
Oh, defenseless
Um,
princess and her scary knight. But it's his
ex-
scary knight and the
she's
defenseless prince.
She is the scary knight. I will give a small spoiler alert for this. Riku, our sad boy protagonist, he does grow a pair a little bit. You have to wait a while, but it does happen. A little. Just enough.
How long? Because I don't think we talked about how many seasons or episodes what's the scope of this one?
Future Diaries 1 season.
Oh, okay. So you have to wait a while relative to how many episodes, but you're not like waiting 3 seasons.
Yeah, so there are 26 episodes in this show. There's only 1 season, but it's a longer season.
Oh, so that's a lot of episodes for 1 season. But also, I think that's how Iran High School Host Club was as well. Like, there's 20-some episodes, but it's just technically 1 season.
Yeah, it feels like 2, but it's technically 1. But it does wrap up nicely. You don't like, you're not waiting for more at the end of it, which is nice.
Love that.
Speaking of 1 season where you feel wrapped up afterwards, Death Parade. Again, more heavy on the creepy, less on the cutie. This one was put in mostly for you, to be honest. I had a couple I was considering, but I was like, no, you love this.
You just did it so that I could make everyone listen to the intro, because no matter how freaking creepy this show is, I still really liked it, but I will twerk every time to the intro. I'll do it.
The intro is a bop.
Absolute banger.
It slaps, as no one says but me.
Roll Maybe the footage.
Wow, that slapped.
See, everyone, that was a great OP.
The premise for this one, it almost gives me like Egyptian, like the weight of judgment vibes. That's kind of how I see it. Like it feels very fresh and new, but it's, you're being weighed on the scale. So essentially, premise is 2 people die at the same time. Who goes to heaven? Who goes to hell? They weigh you on the scale. Boring. Instead, we could do a very fun, definitely not dangerous at all, super chill, not scary or painful, fun game with the other person who died. Determines if you go to heaven or hell. So simple, so easy. But it's not, obviously, because just like any good anime, this super cool goth baddie shows up and makes you question everything.
Makes you question your sexuality. That's
We've
what you
all
meant,
been
right?
there. That is, basically.
Everyone
like
watching
really
this
is.
podcast already knows. There's no questioning anymore. Everyone knows by now.
I feel like that really is the premise for the show, though, is like,
Yeah.
it's just, half the show is people being determined if they're going to heaven or hell, and then, him trying to decide how he feels on the inside because some cool goth girl showed up.
Right, yeah, like it's, yeah, to your point, it's like it's any anime where there's like a major plot going on, but each episode there's like a smaller subplot that starts and ends at each episode. So the starting and ending plot for each one is like, who's gonna interpret the challenge correctly?
Yeah.
or win into, you know, the good place. And then there's like obviously the major subplot which we won't spoil, but goth baddie. So
Got Maddie.
goth baddie.
I think what's really great about this show, because it's shorter, like I said, I think it's what, 12 or 13
Mm-hmm.
episodes.
Yeah.
And there is a movie which you should watch before Death Billiards, should be watched before Death Parade, because it is the pilot, technically. If you haven't seen Death Billiards, you should probably watch it, because
No,
it
I've
is supposed to
definitely
come
seen it.
before. She's definitely seen it. Writes notes aggressively.
Sid,
Um,
just for the listeners who didn't have their pen handy, you said it was Death Billiards. Is that what you said
Death
it was?
Billiards,
Okay.
yeah. And it is the pilot for it. So if you haven't watched it first, maybe just watch it and then rewatch Death Parade. Problem solved. Um,
But not that I would know from experience or anything, but if you just
right.
happen to only watch Death Parade, it still is
Hmm.
very satisfying to
It
just
is.
watch that.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. There's really no filler in the
Mm-mm.
show. It is very to the point, but in a great way. And
Mm-hmm.
when the show is done, it feels resolved. It
Yeah.
feels done.
Yeah.
You're not sitting around wondering and waiting when the next season will come out. It's wrapped up, which I think is one of the best testaments to that show.
Yeah, I keep trying to convince my husband to watch it because I feel like he would really enjoy it. And to your point, like it's quick, it's an easy watch because there are no filler episodes. Like it keeps you captivated. I mean, I think the episodes are still relatively quick episodes too. Like
Yeah.
they're not like hour long episodes where you're like, ugh, this is going on. Um,
No, and it's very exciting. Like I said, there's really no filler, not even just filler episodes, but none of the show itself feels like it has filler. Everything happens in a way that like keeps you compelled throughout the whole thing, and when the episode's over, you feel good. It's an easy binge,
mhm.
honestly. You
I
could you could finish the show very easily in one sitting,
I think it took
even
me
with the
two.
movie.
I think it took me two.
I'm pretty sure I binged. Not that I'm speaking from experience. I did.
Yeah.
I just binged it.
I like maybe had like one or two episodes left. It was not one of the ones where I'm like, oh, I'll just watch one every day. Like, no, I was not having that. It was so good. Plus, I get to listen to that sweet, sweet OP over and over again.
Everybody, put your hands up, safely,
I'm like,
It really is so good.
everybody, put your hands up. I'll cut that
It's
out
such a
later.
bop. No, leave that in. That's what the people came for.
I'll move on because I want to hop back to. I want to hop back to where we started with Madoka Magica. I know we kind of joked about it at the beginning, but I'll ask for the listeners, who's your favorite character and why in Madoka Magica?
My favorite character and why. I have to be it. I have to be careful again with spoilers. This one, I
Yeah.
feel like this show in general, I feel like is very easy to accidentally spoil.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my favorite character is my precious baby angel, Omura. She's a sweet, sweet, angry dove of a lady. Um, no, she's great though, because I think what makes Homura so great is one, there's a lot of depth to her character. We see a lot of growth and transition for her. But also she loves so fiercely in a way
Mm-hmm.
that may not immediately be noticeable to the people in the show or even you as like the audience,
Right.
but she loves so deeply. Um, and I find that so inspiring. But again, you know, she's kind of angry, she's kind of mad all the
So
time.
she is literally your go-to, like stereotypical the character that you like. They're angry. They they love deeply and fiercely, but on the outside you can't tell. Like it's just so
True.
textbook for you.
I don't
Respectfully.
even honestly, it's true though. I don't even think about it because I don't know that I even made that connection until just now.
Hmm.
But like we've talked about even like in in real life, my boyfriend, crusty on the outside, smushy on the inside.
Yeah.
Um I have a type.
Favorite Fruits Basket character? Kyo. Favorite My Hero character? Bakugo.
Bakugo.
They're all the same character. They're
But
all the
they all have so much growth, and I think that's part of it, right? Like a lot of times people are like, oh, you just like the mean one or the bad boy or whatever, which yeah, sometimes it's just fun to like the loudest, angriest person, but a lot of time those are the characters who develop the most. The character
Mhm.
who comes in and is happy and bubbly and, you know, precious and angelic, sometimes they do have growth for sure, but I think a lot of the time they're already great. Why do they need to change? Why do they need to grow? Whereas the characters that maybe aren't perfect on the outside, you know, they make the most strides in the show. They're the ones who have to change the most, for better or for worse, in the face of adversity. And for me, I find that a lot more deep and a lot more compelling.
Mhm.
Plus, they're cool. Bad boys are cool.
I'll say, so like I know you're like, oh, I don't normally like the characters that like everyone likes, and I'll say for like Kyo and Bakugo, they're pretty popular characters, but
Yeah,
for Homura, that's am I saying it properly? No.
yeah.
Okay.
No, you are,
Um
yeah.
so when I was in Japan, I like scoured for a figure of this character and I could not find. So it's definitely not like, yeah, she's the same as all of the other characters that you love, but not in the way that like she has her own cult following, that she's still like super popular. Like she's not that type of character.
Everyone hates her, and it's
Yeah.
not fair because, so, you know, part of what I think makes Madoka Magica great, you know, we've talked about it, there is a pretty strong LGBTQ through line through it from a lesbian
Spoilers. I'm just kidding.
perspective. I feel like you look at a promo shot for this and you're like, they're gay. Um, which is great, but they're gay in like a sports anime. Like,
Yeah.
fine. But it's great because, you know, it's like a very pure kind of love, which is phenomenal. That, you know, gets distorted a bit, but she gets so much hate. Everyone dislikes her, but I just find it so strange. Like, I get why everyone loves Madoka so much. She is angelic,
I don't know.
truly.
She seemed like a whiny little baby. Like, and I know that's like a lot
Yes.
coming from me. But that's like comparing to like My Hero. She's like the Deku, right?
Oh yeah.
But like the like Deku's not like who I don't. Do I have a favorite character in My Hero?
Do you?
Do I?
Is it Fat Gum?
It might be Fat Gum.
It might be Fat Gum.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
like.
know. That's how
Oh no,
I
it's
feel about.
Froppy. Like as far as
Oh,
the kids go, it's
obviously.
Froppy. Yeah.
It's Froppy.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I I don't know. I find that interesting. So Madoka, I do think is a bit of a baby, but I think she steps up when push comes to shove, right? For me, Sayaka was that character. I do not understand. I get that a lot of people love her, and cool, love who you love. I don't get it. I think she is just not a great person. Without spoiling anything, you know, I don't get it. You have a great character like Kyoko, who, again, a loud, angry character, but who like grows through adversity. And I guess that's part of what makes Madoka great, right? Because you see a lot of real human emotions and reactions to bad things. Not everyone grows when they're faced with a bad situation. Some people do shut down or, you know, change for the worse. And there are different characters who experience different things like that. But Sayaka to me just she wasn't great in the beginning. She wasn't great at the end.
I feel like I'm trying to remember because I know that you know that I like missed some episodes on accident.
The
Due
most
to
crucial ones.
to some downloading issues and some VPNs and some international traveling. But I feel like I was really annoyed by her in general, like as a character.
Sayaka?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
I kept waiting to like her. Um,
Yeah.
I kept waiting for something to really be redeeming.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I feel so torn about it because I couldn't stand her, but I kind of liked that I couldn't stand her. Like, to me, that was kind of great because, again, in situations like this, like, I almost feel like we aren't supposed to like her. It
Well,
feels purposeful.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I feel like I was more annoyed with her than I was with, like, the actual, we'll say, antagonist of the show.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No spoilers,
I
right? But that's
yeah.
how I feel. Like, because from an antagonist perspective, it didn't seem malicious, and so that's probably why I wasn't annoyed.
You could
Where
logic your way through
I
them.
could, yeah, but with her, like, I
Yeah.
was just annoyed with her.
That's how emotions are, though, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
There's not always logic, but I felt very similar. I had a really hard time with the antagonist because, on one hand, you're repulsed by them, but on the
Mm-hmm.
other hand, you're like, but I mean, are they wrong? Like, are they? Watch, find out, listen in the comments. Are they wrong? That's
So
a hot take.
it is, yeah. So I guess so on the whole watch us and let us know your take. There
Mhm.
is a manga for this.
Yeah,
Is all of the source, so I assume the manga is the source material and it was
yeah.
not anime then, okay. So is all of the source
Or
material covered?
that's a great question, actually. I'm not 100% sure that the manga came first for this one.
Okay.
I'm not positive. I can tell you that the manga and the anime are the same. Um,
Okay.
they do match. So whichever came first, the chicken or the egg, it's still the same chicken.
Okay.
Um, that was a weird analogy. I don't know why that's what I came up with.
No, it's funny because I
But
went there in my head first and then you said it out loud so I didn't have to.
oh, that's that's how we are. We're synced up. Perfect. But they are the same. But I think, going off of that, one of the things that is really cool to me about Madoka Magica, and I know we talked about this earlier, in the real world, is that Madoka Magica has inspired a bunch of stuff. Most recently, for me, I played through the games Pocket Mirror and Little Goody Two Shoes, which highly recommend those games. Cannot recommend them enough. They are phenomenal, great cutie creepy.
Mm-hmm.
But they sourced that Madoka Magica was like a heavy inspiration for it, which is always so cool to see, like, a more niche anime like we talked
Yes.
about, represented somewhere else.
So the recommendation is to watch Madoka Magica and then play Goody Two Shoes.
Pocket Mirror, then Goody Two Shoes.
Pocket Mirror, then Goody Two Shoes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then if you want to sprinkle in the manga, you can either do so before or after the anime.
Yeah, that could be done at either point, I
Mhm.
think. I don't think either would influence the other. So,
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I won't ask you like what your favorite scene or anything is for this one, just because this one, like you said, it's hard to not spoil.
it is.
Yeah. So maybe with Shadow's house, do you have a favorite scene? We all know that my favorite scene is that one part of the OP where the monotone bartender guy is dancing with Goth Baddie.
Everybody, put your hands up.
That is my favorite scene. Roll the
I
clip.
I like how you were like, in Shadow's house, what's your favorite scene? You're like, actually, I'm a sneaking Death Parade again.
Just kidding. Yeah, no, sorry. I switched back to Death Parade. I was like, you know what? Hopping back.
Hopping back. My favorite scene in Death Parade, it's not even like a full scene, it's a moment where it's pretty, I would say, I think it's like a third to halfway through the show, and it just like the like scene comes up and you just see all these like bodies everywhere, and then it's really quick. They just like
Yes.
turn on a light switch, it's just mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that was such a like weird moment in a show to be like, oh my god, what, how many people are going to heaven and hell, to be like, oh, and like immediately I was like, of course he just has mannequins, why wouldn't he? Classic.
Yeah.
But for me that was such a like,
No,
I don't
I
know,
was
it just really stuck with me.
I was so prepared to be super creeped out, only to then be like, ah, they got baited. No, I do remember that, and I do remember being super creeped out.
Yeah, it was very unsettling. And one of the things that really strikes me about Death Parade is that, yeah, there's like gore and like unsettling scenes, but none of it feels like super gory or like you're not getting punched in the face with shock factor or like you're not going
Yes.
to be sick watching it. It's all very purposeful like that,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is more impactful in some ways.
Yeah, like there's some blood, but it's not like Chainsaw Man level blood, and more
No.
of the creepiness comes from like the psychological aspect where as the episodes are progressing and the characters are going through their challenge, you're also trying to understand what the true implication is of the challenge, and like we said, you're also trying to figure out the larger plot once that comes into
Yeah.
play more. So it's kind of more like that, and less, like you said, less gory and more psychological creepy.
Yes. I think the whole concept for that is that there is nothing scarier than the human mind. Is kind of the vibe that it gives
Mm-hmm.
the whole time. Like there is nothing more unsettling than people. Full stop. Like roll the clip, end of show, drop the mic, it's done.
So you're saying
That's
there's
it.
nothing creepier than a room full of mannequins.
Also that, honestly, I would be if I woke up and there was just mannequins everywhere, I'd die on the spot, heart attack right away. I'm gone. I'm out.
This is one of those shows where, so we have a buddy, he has like I want to say a 3 episode rule, where he'll watch an episode of a show. If he's like, I'm not sure about this, he'll give it 3 episodes before he decides whether or not he's going to continue to watch it. This one, after 1 episode, I'm like, I'm going to watch every single minute of this. I would be
Yeah.
surprised if someone could start this and then, like, even after 1 episode, just stop and not watch the rest of it, because it was so. The first episode was done so well, and it really does
Yeah.
set up a true expectation for what the entire series is.
It hook and baits you, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a great point. I know I am notorious for starting anime, video games, anything. I could love it, and I'll start it, and then like 2 years later, I'll be like, "This is my favorite anime," and you'll be like, "Did you finish it?" And I'll be like, "Who needs to finish something? No, of course not." Um, but yeah, I could not. I was immediately hooked for this. Like I could not
Mm-hmm.
stop. Couldn't put it down. Kind of a vibe.
I watched 1 episode and I'm like texting people like, "Have you heard of this anime?" And people are like, "That came out like a year ago."
That I was talking to someone recently. That makes me think of, so when I first started really telling people I liked anime, like none of my friends or family really watch anime. I basically had you. And you're like, I like cute anime. And so for a very long time, I was like, man, I'm like so hip and cool. I like all these obscure, like weird out there anime. And like, I remember we went to my first con, that like really small one, and I
Yeah.
saw someone in a Future Diary cosplay, and I was like, I'm not original or cool at all. Like, so that moment you had with Death Parade, I've had with my entire interest in anime.
I'll say cons are weird from the standpoint of like, I was at a con last weekend and I was dressed as a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character, and there was not a single other JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character there, and I'm like, I thought that I was gonna have friends here. I did not expect to be the only person with like comic book lines drawn on my fucking face. This is horseshit. I had one person be like, "Oh my gosh, are you Bruno Bucciarati?" And I was like, "Yes." And he was like, I saw you, and I was like, "Wow, that's so awesome." And I'm like, "Can you tell me why there are no other like JoJo's characters here?" And he's like, "I also was very confused by that." And I was like, "Thank you."
Just wild. It's such a like, quote unquote mainstream anime, but then
It
like you
is.
go to a con and you see 7 Madokas.
Yeah.
I would argue, I wonder if, and I'm just spitballing here because I've cosplayed one time in my whole life. So I'm kind of an expert. Ichigo Yandere, expert cosplayer. How
I'll
about
add that under
Oh,
your
Madoka
name.
Magica.
Yeah.
Um, But I wonder if sometimes, like, when people are choosing their cosplay, they're like, oh, everyone's going to be a JoJo's character. Let me do something no one's going to do. But then because everyone's like, let me do something no one's going to do, everyone ends up doing that, like, niche anime. Maybe. Probably not. They probably just like it, but it's an idea.
I'll tell you my hot take is I assumed that. Okay, so when I say there were no other JoJo's characters at this con, I'll say, so yes, it was an 18 plus convention. So
Yeah, it's a
me
little different.
personally, I was, truth be told, expecting a bunch of sexy Dios. You throw on a latex unitard with a little shruggy jacket and a blonde wig. Boom, sexy Dio. I think the reason
God.
that the JoJo's characters are few and far between is they all wear pants. It's so hard
Can't make
to...
them hot.
You can't... It's harder to make them hot. Dio's the only one, arguably, that is, like, easy to make hot, with the exception of Megan Thee Stallion did an excellent Bruno Bucciarati nod at the Crunchyroll Awards. Very hot, very sexy.
It's really good.
Really good.
It was really good. It was done very well. I have, as you know, even though we've discussed now that you've watched several of my recommendations, I'm trudging through JoJo's.
The first
but-
season's hard. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I will get there. I am determined. The problem is that like we said, I'm so bad at like finishing some. So I'll like watch 2 episodes, and then for some reason I'm like, oh no, I haven't watched it in a few months, and then I'll just keep rewatch. Like I've seen the first 2 episodes of JoJo's. I'm not exaggerating, 6 times.
And those are arguably the worst episodes in the entire series.
I know. We talked about it recently. You were like, just stop. You know what happens. Just skip forward. But even I knew who she was. I saw her and I was like, hey, JoJo. So like, she did great. It was very recognizable.
Yeah, and so, I mean, like, my Bruno Bucciarati was also, like, more of a nod because I did gender bend it.
It was good, though.
Thank you. I'll also say that for as much as I like JoJo's now, the fact that you've watched the first 2 episodes so many times gives me so much, like, internal pain. Because I watched, like, the first 2 episodes, and I walked away from JoJo's for, like, a year, maybe more, because I was like, no way. No way is this show where, like, in the first 2 episodes, this man's beloved dog gets brutally unalived. I'm like, absolutely not. That is not a show for me. And then I was like, I see why they did it. They really wanted you to hate this character. Fine. But, like, I was very upsetty spaghetti about it. And I walked away for a while. I'm glad I went back. I'm glad that you keep trying to give it a shot. But, yeah.
I feel like the way we've described me and my anime interest, just going off of what you said, viewers are going to be like, so why doesn't Yandere like it? I don't get it. It's everything Yandere likes. Something sad happens to something good right in the beginning.
It's like, different too because like it's cutie in the way that like it's very clearly, I'm trying to think of the right word here. I want to say very clearly homosexual, where like you're like, cutie creepy. It's like cutie in the way that it's like low key, high key homosexual, like very gay. Like, yeah, it's a bunch of buff men. There's a couple of scenes very questionable. But it is a totally different vibe overall. But I could see maybe why the viewers would be like, what do you mean? It's creepy. Like, no, it's not. JoJo's is a comedy.
Cute dog dies. Yandere loves cute things dying. It's true, I do. Not in real life. Only in fake life.
But no, that's... But in your defense, like, it's... I see JoJo's as more of a comedy than like a thriller or a psych or a cutie or a creepy or a whatever. I see it more as just a general comedy.
I would agree, and comedies I struggle with in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a whole like season. I don't know what would you call it, a season where all of their powers originate from tarot cards.
Oh, that's cool. That gives very Persona vibes.
Wouldn't know.
Of course, I found a way to sneak in Persona. You knew it'd show up.
I knew, I just didn't think it would be in the JoJo's segment.
No. It'd just be a weird comment about all the art behind me.
Which is funny because all of the art behind me is JoJo's art. So
It's perfect.
it's pretty par for the course.
Really is.
So I'm gonna bring us back. I'm gonna bring us back to your top five, or maybe not your top five since you included Death Parade just for me because I'm special. Which one of these would you say is your favorite? From the standpoint of your own personal enjoyment, not from the standpoint of like how you would recommend to other people to watch.
Madoka Magica.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. That
Yeah.
is my favorite, not even just of these five, that is
Mm-hmm.
my favorite anime of all time. To me, it feels so unique. Not to say that there aren't other creepy magical girls. We talked about, I watched one recently,
Yeah, what was that one creepy magical girl one that came out? It wasn't creepy. It was like
upsetting.
war magical girls.
Oh, I am blanking on the name. Another one I didn't finish.
I didn't finish
Um,
that one either. I started it and I liked it. I just didn't finish it. I forgot that it existed.
Same. I'm thinking of Magical Girl Raising Project, which I have a
Oh.
note right here. It says Madoka
Uh-huh.
Magica good, Magical Girl Raising Project bad. Um, I had really high hopes for that because I was like, finally, I get something like Madoka Magica, and I was very excited about it. But Magical Girl Raising Project for me, whereas Madoka Magica is violent, but there's so much story and like relationship building and character building and like this whole world. There really isn't any of that in Raising Project. It's just kind of violence for the sake of violence. It feels like a copycat of Madoka, and for me, I understand that like sometimes with anime, you kind of have to put some glasses on and be like, these 16-year-olds are definitely adults. But for that one, there's like this one character who is a like 8-year-old, like 6 or 8, she's very young, and she is displayed as being like an after puberty like 17-year-old girl, like in a skimpy outfit. And for me, I was like, you know what? I can't pretend. I'm out. Um, so that was a no-go for me.
That reminds me of I had the same thoughts about um Nezuko and Demon Slayer because how far did you make it in Demon Slayer?
Oof. I think I finished the first season.
Okay, so you know Nezuko is a demon. So
Yes.
basically when she
Spoilers.
hits like yeah, spoilers, first episode. So I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say that basically when Nezuko gets into like a full power mode, she, which when she passed or when she became a demon, she was 12. When she
Yeah.
hits like a full power mode, she becomes like a full like
Woman.
woman. And so what you were describing is exactly how I feel like I felt when I watched this transformation happen to Nezuko in Demon Slayer, and I was like, did they have to do that? Probably
Yeah.
not, but they did anyway.
I mean, we all love a hot lady, don't get me wrong, but we don't all love hot children. We don't need that. We don't
Mm-mm.
want it. I wish it would stop, personally.
Yeah.
In fact, I would argue I would love more anime with adults, just in general.
Yeah.
Um, over the age of 21. That'd be great.
Right.
Um, I think this is actually a good point. I forgot to mention it earlier, but it is important to mention. Speaking of children acting as adults, Future Diary for anyone who has any kind of trauma involving SA or just assault in general, full stop. It is not the show for you. Maybe read the wiki first, see how you feel about it. While it is a great show, and I'm guilty of, even though the main character, is a really upsetting yandere. I still ship her and the protagonist sometimes, and I feel gross about it because it happened more often than I care to admit. That I really wanted them to end up together, even though she's rough. She's rough and other characters are rough. So I would like to point that out, that if, you have any issues with that, or anything with like underage people, it's not for you. Um, and there's other great creepy things to watch instead. There are
Mm-hmm.
so many battle royales, so I mean, you can literally type in battle royale, I think, to Crunchyroll and get tons of things. So check out one of those.
So you're cutting ahead
I,
to my next question, which was going to be about like if you like X, then you'll like Y, and if you had any of those recommendations for these. But before we do, also wanted to mention that the show that I was talking about earlier with the war magical girls, it was the Magical Destroyers anime.
mm, Magical Destroyers is really good. At least you know what? I shouldn't say that because I've only seen 3 episodes, so it may become really bad.
I've seen more than that, and like it got. I should have stuck around longer because I was still in the like even the amount that I watched, I was still in the we're learning about the characters phase of it.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it only has a 5.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Anyway, I had asked if any of these shows, if you can think of like any, if you like X, then you'll like Y for some of these shows. Like, yeah, maybe if you liked Magical Destroyers, then maybe you'll like Madoka Magica, or if you liked Promise Neverland, the first season, then you'll like Shadow's House. Like, do you have any thoughts on that?
That's such a great question.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew you were going to ask this, and I emotionally prepared, but I didn't mentally prepare. I'm so bad. I feel like whenever anyone asks a question like this, I
Mm-hmm.
forget everything I've ever watched in my whole life.
Which is so sad because I feel like you've watched a lot.
I have, and I feel like, especially because I watch a lot within this genre, this should be really easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it really just isn't. And I think part of that though is because a lot of like if someone said they really liked Madoka Magica, I'd tell them to watch Made in the Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
If someone really liked Future Diary, honestly, I would tell them to watch what is it called Battle Royale? Is that the movie name? It's a live action. It's not an anime. It was made in like 2000. It is. It's just called Battle Royale. It's a cult classic film. And it is phenomenal. Live action, real people. I
You
know.
watched a show with real people?
I did. I,
Who
for
is
everyone at
she?
home, I am really bad about watching real people shows. I always have been. It's not a recent thing. But Battle Royale, phenomenal. Highly recommend. It is the quintessential Battle Royale film. Um, so that would be my first recommendation. If you want to watch Future Diary, but you don't want to be traumatized for life,
Mm-hmm.
boom, right there. Another good option, though, I would say, if you like Shadow's House, you like
Mm-hmm.
the kind of murder mystery, not too creepy, not too unsettling. Um, I always forget if it's pronounced Gossick or Gosick. Um, High recommendation. It is really good. It's Sherlock Holmes vibes, but with like a Victorian child.
Interesting.
And it's very very good, very you know, like we said for some of these, like it doesn't necessarily do anything new, but it's a really good ride while you go, and there is a lot that may catch you off guard and surprise you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very short, but there's very little filler. It just kind of keeps it going.
How do you feel about me saying something like if you liked Madoka Magica or if you liked Shadow's House, you would like Wonder Egg Priority?
Unpopular. I've never watched one thing. I haven't.
Like
It
gasp.
I know. That has been brought up to me before. I have a strict no feelings rule. As you know, most of the like emotional type things that I've watched are because you recommended it. I have
Mm.
no idea if there are emotions in it, but when I look at the cover photo for it, it looks like they have feelings. So I kind of avoided it. It looked like it might make me sad.
It it's like the vibe is more like Shadow's House, but the feelings are more like Madoka.
maybe I will watch. It does also have eggs.
It does
Spoiler,
also have
Madoka Magica
eggs.
has eggs in it.
Call back to the first podcast I think that Tia and I recorded when we were talking about eggs, and I was trying to say Wonder Egg, and she thought I was talking about Madoka Magica.
That's immediately what I thought when I was listening to the episodes, because I like immediately was like, I have to go listen to this right now. And I immediately was like, she has to be talking about Madoka. I made her watch it. There's eggs in it. They do stuff. And it was not. And I was like, well, now I hate this Wonder Egg show even more because it's not Madoka.
I must have missed the episodes that I missed. Must have been the heavy egg episodes, because I rarely attribute Madoka to eggs, and so I must have missed the heavy egg episodes.
That's the name of this episode. It's just Heavy Egg episode.
Heavy eggs. Ugh.
That's interesting because we'll talk offline about this because eggs are a pretty integral, not like chicken eggs, but like eggs, you know.
No, but
Sparkly,
like
shiny, magical girl eggs.
yeah, but
No,
like
that I didn't like that. That sounded bad.
magical eggs.
To be clear, not what I meant. But like, you know, magic granting power eggs. That's better. Are pretty integral to the entire show. You see an egg episode 3.
Yeah, but in Wonder Egg, there's an egg every episode.
Well, there's an egg every episode except the first 2. I feel like I haven't even seen it, and it's becoming this like weird fight between Wonder Egg and
It's one of those things because you feel like you need to watch it, you won't watch it even more.
honestly,
No!
what's gonna end up happening is I'm gonna bully my boyfriend into listening to this. Just kidding. I think he'll listen very willingly. And, you know, he'll be making fun of me the whole time, and he'll be like, wow, you're so awkward. And then he's gonna get to this section, and he's gonna be like, sit down now. Wonder Egg now. Or he won't have seen it either. Because he's weird like me. We've seen the same weird niche anime.
That's so true. Like when you guys
It
talk
is.
about like your favorites of like, oh, you've never heard of it, like whatever. It's you've both seen it and you both love it, but then I'll say something like a totally normal anime and you guys are like, what?
What?
Like never
What's
heard of
that?
it. That doesn't even
Oh.
sound interesting to me.
Completely unrelated. Speaking of like mainstream anime, I thought of a mainstream anime that if you like these, you might like.
Yay, the original question.
Yeah, I came up with one. ReZero. ReZero is a great example of cutie, but unsettling. And it's mainstream. It's a little longer,
Yeah.
but it's really good. But it, I think, is another good example of something that appears like it's going to be, you know, your stereotypical isekai, but it has something deeper and more unsettling underneath it when you start to kind of pick at the crust.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of something that would be comparable to Death Parade. I think it's hard because Death Parade is just like one season where it's kind of like it seems harder to say like, yes, this is like that.
I'm doing research right now. Because I feel like as soon as I search it, something really obvious is going to come up, and I'm going to feel. If you Google anime like Death Parade, just so everyone knows, it gives you Death Billiards.
Which that doesn't count.
It's true. If you like Death Parade, you will like the pilot episode to Death Parade. I would agree with that. That is fair. Oh, a video game recommendation. I hate that's where my brain always immediately goes. If you like Death Parade, Corpse Party is a great video game that you would probably like. Which is kind of it's an older game, very like top down. But it's another kind of just like very there's not much cutie about it, but it's very unsettling. And the internet agrees with me. So
I'll also Google it. The Haunting Calm of Mushishi?
Oh, that's a good one. I would almost recommend like Psychopaths, probably. They have like a similar overarching message, I kind of feel like, with it.
Hanibe Renmei?
I am not sure. I would need an image to know if I know what that is.
Natsume's Book of Friends? I'm on a weird Reddit page, I think.
No, that sounds familiar. Hold on.
Shigo Fumi, Letters of the Departed.
Because I thought Natsume's Book of Friends was like, I would argue it's a little more touching. Because it has to do with being able to like see and hear yokai.
Someone else recommended Psychopaths, Death Note, Hellgirl, Danganronpa.
Don't get me started on Danganronpa. We love it. We hate it. It makes everyone uncomfortable at parties. One of my favorite video games, Danganronpa.
I need you to send me a text message now that just says, I love making everyone uncomfortable at parties for your next intro to the podcast.
Okay. I'm not right
We're
now.
not going to remember why, but...
Uncomfortable. No, not I comfortable.
I comfortable at parties, I think.
That really is the best way to describe Danganronpa, though. Everyone either really loves it or really hates it, but everyone feels weird about it. No one feels comfy about it. Danganronpa, though, I will say, if you do like all of this, you probably will like Danganronpa. Or you'll like it until you, like, go on Reddit, and then you'll like it less, but we ignore Reddit for this. Pretend it doesn't exist.
Other recommendations are Hellgirl, and like I said, a bunch of recommendations for the, and I'm probably saying this wrong, but the Hanibe Renmei. Like, multiple recommendations for that in a thread that was like, I need something similar to Death Parade.
So what you're saying is, I need to go watch this.
Born from a cocoon in the village of Old Home.
Same. Classic. Ooh, it looks cute. I really like the art style for it.
Yeah, reading this, I'm like, I'm surprised you haven't watched this.
Honestly, I am too now. This looks very...
Seems up your alley.
It really does. The art style reminds me of Death Note quite a bit.
Mysterious disappearances of their kind on their day of flight, in quotes, begin to unsettle Raka and others since they know amongst nothing about their own kind.
Same.
Truly.
That's officially on my list. I will be watching that.
She's gonna watch that before she watches JoJo's. She's gonna watch
knew
that
you were
before
about to
she
say
watches
that.
before she watches
Before I watch
Wonder Egg.
It's just egg now.
I have
Before
egg.
I watch egg. Egg?
It's I have purse, but it's I have egg.
I told someone, it might have been T, but I told them I was going to dress up just as the egg from Madoka Magica. Like, that was going to be my next cosplay, was just the egg. Not a magical girl, just egg.
You can be Egg from Madoka Magica, and I'll be Egg from Wonder Egg. But it's really just like a gumball machine egg. Like, it's really just like... It's not like a special looking egg. Like, it's truly just like a painted Easter egg situation, but out of a gumball machine vibe.
I'll be a sparkly Easter. I'll be like, you know those like glass eggs that old ladies have in their homes that are like painted, and if you get too close to them, they'll break immediately? Not speaking from experience or anything.
Oh, I was picturing like the very heavy paperweight eggs that are like solid glass, and I'm like, that thing ain't breaking anything but my toes.
I'm gonna be honest, I can break anything. Hearts, eggs, myself, anything.
That's true.
That's true.
Especially about the breaking yourself part.
Mostly myself.
Yeah.
I get hurt. I once cut my foot on a Jolly Rancher. I have a scar to prove it.
Next time on Girls Gaze Animes.
Stay tuned for the next time Yandere.
Well, on that note, thank you for joining me today, Yandere, and giving me your top 5 cutie creepy anime recommendations. Not that I personally didn't already have them, but I appreciate you sharing them with the viewers.
Thank you so much for letting me once again talk to you about the same 5 anime I've obsessively already told you about 2,000 times before, but now in a way that's recorded. So you can listen to this again. So you can just have this to constantly hear me talk about these 5 anime.
Right. I'm gonna paste in that meme of Bernie Sanders being like, I am once again here asking, but it's like you to watch my 5 favorite animes. And that'll be the thumbnail for the episode. Perfect.
Sold. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, it was great to have you on. And I'll say, as we wrap up, this will not be the last that you see of Yandere. She is an official Girls Gaze Animes, I won't say co-host because she's more of a lead for the spinoff segment for Girls Games, Gaymes Animes, our sub-channel that we're going to be launching later this year. So everyone keep an eye out for that. As she's made it abundantly clear, she is into games, not just Persona 5.
There's only Persona. Just kidding. I can't wait to make all of my nearest and dearest play some really weird, fun games. It's gonna be great. Stay tuned.
Just a little peek for some viewers. I personally am planning on playing through Doki Doki Literature Club because somehow it has escaped me and I have not done so. So, everyone look forward to that. I'm truly excited. I know what I'm getting into. But not, I don't think, to the level that I should be expecting it. So
I don't think you're prepared.
It's like I know, but I don't know.
That. I'm ready. Like we discussed at the beginning of the episode, I will take joy in your response to character suffering. And I can't wait, and I hope you can't wait.
I personally am the most excited for your boyfriend playing through a very special game.
Oh, we won't spoil. It's gonna be fun, I think. I think he's not as excited as he should be. I think he's gonna love it a lot more than he expects to.
Oh yeah, he's like, I'll do this for you. Inside, he's gonna love this game.
Yes, the moment he realizes there is drama, he'll be sold. He'll be in. He'll be looking up fan theories. He'll be looking up histories. He'll be like, how could they do this to them? I trusted them.
That reminds me, so when Mim was on, she's like, if you want to do an episode on Has Been Hotel, I'm your gal. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, Kelsey's boyfriend.
It's my boyfriend. I will say this one thing. He is sweet, precious angel. I come home one day and he like turns and looks at me with like the spiral crazy eyes, and he's like, all right, so I have this idea. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, let's hear your theory. I was not prepared. I wasn't prepared. I thought I was, I've been on Reddit, I'm on TikTok for Has Been. I wasn't prepared. Some of his theories, great. Some of them, I love how into it he is. It's great.
Maybe I should have him on the podcast.
You should, but be prepared to edit. He'll go on a rant and he'll get loud about it. But it's for the best. It's fun. He's got some great ideas about it. So stay tuned for my boyfriend.
All right, everyone. That is a wrap on Girls Gaze Animes cutie, creepy, niche, obscure, top 5 anime, longest title in the world episode. Until next time, love what you love who you love. Thanks. See ya.